Welcome to the Keeping It Simple podcast with Tenika Butler, the podcast that brings clarity to the Word of God by keeping things simple and shifts Christians from looking like the culture to living as disciples. Whether you've been saved your entire life or accepted Christ yesterday, this is a space for you. So get ready to be encouraged and equipped to thrive. Hey y'all, welcome to the Keeping It Simple podcast. I'm your host, Tenika Butler, and I am glad you stopped by. So today I am once again joined by my unofficial co-host, Producer Bay.
Look at you!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Lord, today.
Look at you!
Yes, Lord.
You feel like you should do a spin or a turn or a slide?
Something. I need a turntable. Maybe we can do that for the next season.
Maybe we can't.
Okay. It's not. Is it not in the budget? Like, I don't understand. I mean, I'm expressing the.
Yeah.
My therapist is teaching me how to express what's on the inside, so the inside doesn't eat me up.
Okay. Well, good for you. You're
Okay.
following instructions.
Thank you for shutting me down.
How are you today, Producer Bay? How's life going?
I'm great. It's good. I'm excited about today. I'm excited about our guest. I'm excited about this season. I think it's been really cool.
How'd you like last week's episode?
Ooh, it was fire emoji fire.
So, based on the third laugh that you hear, you know that we have another guest, well, the same guest today, but another person joining us. So if you have not heard last week's episode yet, stop this one, go back and listen to episode 11, and then come back for this episode 12, because last week we started talking about depression and anxiety, and today we are on part 2 because we just had so much more stuff that we needed to hit on before we let our guests leave the building. And so we are joined again by Miss Natalie Dyer.
Hello.
So if you could, for the new people, there should not be any new people because I just told them to go check episode 11, but some of them are not going to check episode 11, and they're just going to get the goodness that you're going to give the people for this one. So just give them a little bit about yourself.
Yes, hello. I'm Natalie Dyer, and I'm honored to be here. I am a licensed professional counselor supervisor. I have been practicing for 20 plus years.
Wow.
Lots of time in this field.
Hey!
You thought I lost it. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
So basically, the sound effect is just as happy as we are that Natalie knows what she's talking about. And she is not new to this. She is true to this. And so we talked a lot last episode about kind of some signs and symptoms of depression and anxiety and all that. But I want to start today with talking about the functionality of depression. Yes. So if you can tell a little bit about what that is and what that encompasses.
So the thought typically is when you hear that someone is depressed is that they are in a dark room with the blinds drawn, and the bed covers over their head, not eating, not doing all of the things. But the reality is that there are people walking around absolutely every single day doing the things that they need to do, but are still depressed. They may have all of the symptoms, the criteria that we talked about in the last episode. They may have all of those. However, they still get up. They still go and do the things that they need to do. Prime example could be like a single mom. She doesn't necessarily have the option or the opportunity to go in her room, close the door, and shut the blinds. She still has children that she may have to get up and take to school or feed or things of that nature. There's still business to be taken care of, and there are people that are depressed still taking care of their business.
Wow. So do you think that a lot of those people don't know they're depressed, or they're like, I don't even have time to deal with this?
I think it's the latter. They don't necessarily have the time to deal with the depression. And I believe also that those are the people that likely have maybe a more severe depression, honestly, because they don't have the time to process through it or feel it all. they walk around with it, still doing life. So there's still things being thrown at them. So they don't get to go sit and be depressed. They walk around and be depressed. And again, all these things are still coming at them.
Real quick, when you say they walk around with this, can you actually see it on them, like in their body language, in how they move, and their shoulders, or maybe the way their head is sloped, right? Because I know we look at countenance a lot. We look at how someone presents themselves a lot, and I think those are easy things to kind of point out. But like, what do you typically see when people walk around with this?
Well, I think some of the things that I might see a typical person might not. Okay. So I don't want to use me as a gauge. But I don't know that for the common person that depression speaks to them, that they see it. You know, who's come to mind is Robin Williams, the comedian, right? So he was the funny man. He was the room hollered when he spoke because he was hilarious. However, he committed suicide, right? So I don't know, again, that depression is a look that some people may have for the common eye. I feel like I can tell when someone is dealing with some things in their physical body speaks. I will say that I believe that our mental health definitely impacts our physical bodies for sure. But it may not necessarily look a certain way to some people, but it does for me sometimes. Yes.
Cool.
You good over there?
No, yeah, I'm good. And I brought that up because, it took me back to when I was in college, and we had, I vividly remember this. We had several sessions where we had to imitate someone's walk, right? And we would have to, like, I was a little thinner in college, right? I was thinner in college, and I was challenged to walk from kind of like my pelvic center area. You know what I'm saying? With this, and no one in the class got it except for my professor. And he was like, no, he's walking from the center of his abdomen down, because and other people were challenged to walk, with their shoulders and different things. So that's why I asked, because I'm like, can you see it, right?
But to your point, you just said nobody got it but your professor, because your professor was used to the exercise.
Yeah, but he wasn't even a licensed,
No, but he's been doing that exercise before, so you're not the first person that has came in there and walked like that. I know.
Yeah.
You probably thought you.
I thought I was a one of one.
Right?
Thank you.
You probably thought that you were the first.
Now I got to go back to my therapist, and we got to talk about why I'm not unique enough. Why I ain't special.
But to Natalie's point,
right?
She
can see
everybody else didn't see what he could see,
That's
just
good.
like we can't
Right.
see what she can see because she studied it. So she can see through the fake laugh or the smile, or not even the fake. Because sometimes it's really, I'm just trying to survive. So I'm really not trying to be fake.
Right.
I'm just trying. I feel like this is the best way for me to cope.
Exactly.
And so,
Right.
yeah.
The mask can be real for many, many people, and trying not to be seen. Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough. Because I've thought about all the small group sessions that I've been a part of where you always have like that quiet person. And it's always funny to me. Not funny, but it's always ironic to me because it's like, now you know that if you're the quiet one, everybody's going to be drawn to you, or everybody's going to look at you and be like, go ahead and talk. Like that's what's going to happen. And so I don't know, I just find it ironic that the person that's trying to hide the most is the one that's not hidden at all.
Yes. It's like they're the squeaky wheel.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
That's good. Like, yes, I agree. I have nothing. I'm like over here basking in
All right.
the answers.
So
Questions.
last episode, you made a very important statement when suggesting and telling the people to seek therapy and go to therapy. And you said repeatedly Make sure you see a licensed person. A licensed person. A licensed. That's how I felt like laughing when she said it. If I go back, I probably did laugh like that because I know
Lord.
what you meant. Because everybody out here in these internet streets with fake degrees and fake certificates. So you tell the people to find a licensed specialist, a licensed expert, a licensed professional, because they can go to someone that has the ability to bring out all those emotions. And I think even your friends, like if you sit down and talk long enough, everybody can have you dig through your childhood. But I think where you come into play and where therapists come into play is, okay, I've brought all this stuff to the surface and now I'm reliving all these traumatic events, and now what? Exactly. And I think the now what is where we need the licensed person, because I can sit down with you as a friend. I can sit down with you as somebody that has discernment and has wisdom. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Talk it out. And then you're like, and then this happened when I was 6 and I just never forgave that person. And I'm like, oh, okay. So scripture says. And then I'm like, now I'm calling y'all on the phone like, I need your help with this part. I'm going to send them to you.
Right.
So how important is it? And I don't want to knock anybody's certifications or your life coaches in the world and all that, because, and I'll speak, that's what I do, because most of us watch reality TV sometimes. And it just bothers my soul that you can have somebody going through so much drama and they're like, the next scene, it'll be like, at the life coach's office. And I'm like, at the life coach's office? Like, how many hours did this person study to be this? Again, nothing to knock the life coach, because I know that everybody serves a purpose. For sure. But with what this person is unpacking, like, I'm a normal person. Well, what's normal? I'm a person sitting out here on the other side of the screen, and I can tell that they need somebody that can probably deal with this a little bit deeper. So how does a person decide between, I can just see a life coach, or no, you need to see a therapist? So
I want to say I too am a life coach. However, I'm a licensed therapist too. So my life coaching clients kind of get both, that's the safest space.
Right.
So my typical clients that I coach have more to do with business planning, if they are trying to, just something that is very emotionless, if you will.
That's good.
However, when we start dealing with the processing of feelings, emotions, the hurts, the pains, loneliness, things of that nature, when we start dealing with those things, that is not a coaching piece. And I know that there are coaches that are relationship coaches and marriage coaches and things of that nature, but they do dig up so many things and people can be left hanging. And that's the part about life coaches that are not therapists as well that scare me. Because as you were saying, people can be put so far out there, and then you don't necessarily know what to do once they get there. So if someone has experienced a trauma as a child that they never identified until they're in the middle of this life coaching, this marriage life coaching session, if you will, and now they've realized that they experienced this trauma and they're having these crying spells and they're remembering all of the things that happened to them or the things that they saw, well, the person on the other side of the room isn't equipped to help them deal with that in that moment, to treatment plan for it, and to get them, in each of their sessions to be able to walk through and get to a point of healing. That person is left with remembering that trauma, and their spouse, if they're doing the marriage counseling, is the one suffering through with them, but they don't know what to do with that. So again, no slight against life coaches, because again, I too am one. However, I know the difference between me coaching and me providing therapy.
I like how you said the business aspect, like the life aspect of it. Like the life coach can have, if you can't figure out what should you be doing with your life, or where should you go from here, or
Purpose. Yeah,
right. That's what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
Your purpose, but the emotion stuff is definitely therapy driven.
Question. Couldn't that same principle and concept that you just talked about, whenever you start digging into the emotions of a thing, could that be applied toward preachers? Could it be applied toward believers with these special giftings, or anyone else, right?
Throwing them in the life coach category?
Yeah, like, you walk
they're
with
not
someone
experts.
because they're not experts, right? Like, you walk with them, and you could potentially lead them somewhere where you're not equipped to handle.
Yeah.
And then you just say, well, you throw out a scripture and it's no.
Yeah.
I'll say this, and y'all can keep it if you want. So, as a former pastor's wife, I have experienced so many pastors that have attempted to provide counsel for people that they were ill-equipped to do. And they have done just what I was saying a moment ago, brought damage to the person because they've stirred a pot that they know nothing about dealing with the contents of. And then I think that goes back to something that we talked about in the first episode, in that the stigma about mental health. So let me just go talk to my pastor. And that's fine to a certain extent, but your pastor does not know how to take you further. And in order to get you to a point of mental health, healing within your mental health, spiritually, yes. But in regards to your mental health, likely no.
Right.
So it leaves you, again, hanging.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think I thought about that when you were talking, because one of our former church that we went to had a therapist, a licensed professional. I think he may have been psychologist, like something,
Yeah,
but
it
he
was
was
something.
doctor, and he was a professional in that field. And they brought him on for that very reason, because the
Right.
pastor could only do so much. And so it'd be like, okay, well, you start based on the phone call that came in of, I need to talk to the pastor. Okay, well,
Right.
what do you need to talk? Because, you got to vet some things, because you probably can just talk to the membership coordinator. You don't need to talk to
Oh my God.
But
Lord
people
Jesus.
that really needed to talk to the pastor, it's like, okay, can you give me, like, is it marriage? Is it family? That type of stuff. Okay, well, it's this. Okay, so, yeah, it's been decided that you probably should talk to the pastor. So you talk to the pastor, and then you can start there, and then the pastor would determine, like, you can go see Dr. So-and-so. Like, this is a person I'm going to refer. And
Right.
he's still on the same campus. He works in the same building with everybody, and they refer you to him. Or the person on the phone is like, well, we have Dr. So-and-so on staff here. Would you want to see him? And then everybody's like, oh, I didn't know that was an option. Yeah, that's who I would talk to, because it's still at church.
Yes.
So they still feel comfortable, but now you're in a place with a person that is that expert.
No, that's good. That's good. And I think, we live in a very complex world, and it would be beneficial to, at least if you are a nonprofit, if you are a church, if you are a faith-based institution, in my mind, it makes perfect sense that you should be at least connected to some type of therapist, or have a group of therapists ready, or to be able to just like refer members,
Right.
because again, like, yeah, this is the church is God's institution, but we also have to be wise.
Yeah,
We
'cause
also
in the end, it could be a liability. Like,
Right.
if you gave this person this advice and you weren't equipped to legally give this person this advice, I remember a couple came to us and they were like, "Can y'all do our premarital counseling?" And I was like, "Whoa, like, let me look at the fine print here." Because anytime I hear the word counseling, I'm like, no, because if I tell you something and in 5 years, well, the butler said no. So, like, we literally was like, we'll be your premarital mentor.
Yeah, we are mentors. I remember
a good
that.
title.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember
And
that.
so I was like, we'll mentor you through this thing, and we got experience under our belt, but that counselor situation, I just take
Right.
that real serious. So,
And I wish more people would hear that term and know that's not me. Let me
Right.
get you to a person that actually wears this title. That's a safe place to be.
Do you take offense to that?
Sometimes
I felt that when you said it. I was like,
I do, because it's not safe. People are being damaged, and not that the person that is helping is intending to
Right.
damage, because their intent really is to help.
Right.
But you're ill-equipped to help. So get them to someone that can.
All
yeah, I
right.
mean, it's like a mic drop, but we
Yeah.
can't. We got to pick it back up because we're not
Yeah.
done yet. So I have a question. All right, so there are a lot of professionals within your profession. So we have counselors, we have therapists, we have psychologists, psychiatrists. How do you know who to go to, when to go to? Do you start here and then maybe work your way up or around? I don't know.
Okay, so first I'll start with kind of the difference between all of them. Psychiatrists are medical doctors. They've actually gone to medical school. They're the ones that prescribe medications. Psychiatrists, I'll say 99% of the time, don't do therapy. Your appointment with the psychiatrist, the first time might be an hour. The second time, it's a good 20 minutes. They're the ones that make all the money. And then we have psychologists. Those are, they either have a philosophy degree or a doctorate of philosophy or a doctorate of psychology. They can do research. They're the ones that build the assessments and things of that nature that we give to clients, but they can provide counseling themselves.
Okay.
It just kind of depends on which path they take in their degree program. Then you have counselors, therapists, psychotherapists. Those are all the same. That's me. We have master's degrees in counseling or clinical counseling or clinical mental health, or just kind of depends on what state you're in, whatever that label is for that. We are the ones that provide the counseling or the therapy for the clients. Then we have certain certifications. We have licensed professional counselors, which is me. And we also have licensed professional counselor supervisor, which is also me, but I'm able to provide supervision for interns during their graduate program. Then we have licensed marriage and family therapists. That one's kind of self-explanatory. And then we have licensed master social workers or licensed clinical social workers. The clinical social workers are able to provide counseling. The master social workers are not. They work from a social work perspective, resource-driven and things of that nature. So that's the difference in the different titles. Who you should see first really kind of depends on where you are in life. If someone is in the middle of the grocery store and they just begin to act out and, the people don't know what to do, they're going to call the police. The police is going to come and get that person, and the police is supposed to take them to a psychiatric facility. So that then means that they're going to see a psychiatrist immediately. Right. But if it's not something as grand of an issue as that, they may just be dealing with life in and of itself. They can start with therapy. But a therapist might recommend that they see a psychiatrist for a psychiatric evaluation to kind of see where they are. Or the therapist can refer them to see a psychologist for some more assessment to kind of figure out some other areas that they may be dealing with. Because it could lend to more like an ADD or an ADHD. That's not necessarily therapy for that, but there's work that can be done in order to help.
See, I didn't know. I knew a lot of what you just said. I did not know that y'all work so closely to psychologists.
Yes.
And that like they're doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that I never knew that.
And not all of them do the research, of course. There's some psychologists that just do counseling, and then there's some psychologists that just do research.
Okay. So when it comes to needing medication, that's the
Psychiatrist.
So would you, because I know a lot of times PCPs, a person's primary care physician, well, they'll go see him and they're like, oh, you're depressed. Just take this pill and we'll check back in about a month. Wouldn't it be more beneficial to either send them straight to a psychiatrist or send them to a counselor or therapist and then work through it that way?
I that is definitely my preference. When I refer clients to a psychiatrist, I am sure to tell them that I'm sending you to a psychiatrist rather than your primary care physician, because this is what they do all day long. Whereas a primary care physician, of course, we all have them, there's no specialty. You know, they can see you and determine that you have a broken arm, but they can also see you and determine that you have an ear infection. Right? Two completely different parts of your body.
It's getting weird.
Whereas a psychiatrist, their only function all day long is to deal with your mental health.
Right.
And if there is a need for medication in order to help you manage and to live through this mental health disorder that you might be dealing with.
Wow.
Can you quickly speak to the person who is scared to take the medicine? Or like, is it a lifelong, you need to take this medicine every day at this time for the rest of your life? Now, I know that sometimes that can be the case depending on the need, the severity, all the different factors. But is that always the case?
It is not always the case. Disclaimer, I am not a medical doctor.
Right.
So every person that needs medication for any period of time is not always on medication for their entire life. That's not the case. There are some people that are on medication just during a season. They may be depressed. Their depression during their grief process may be a lot heavier than they need it to be, or than it should be. So a psychiatrist may prescribe medication for them in order to help them through their grieving process. Well, grief can take a period of time, and it ebbs and flows and things of that nature, and they may be depressed in this moment, but they may never be depressed again, but still be grieving. You know,
Can the same be for anxiety?
For sure. All things can be situational.
Right.
You know, everything is not a chronic. Some things are definitely acute.
Right.
And if they are, then there's an end to it.
Right.
But if it's chronic, then it keeps going.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why you need the yearly checkups.
Yes.
And okay. So we have a few more minutes left. This was the quickest episode I've ever done. Thanks, because we're talking about so much good stuff.
Real quick before you go there, is there like a stigma around taking medication though?
Oh, sure. For sure.
Right.
I hear lots of clients say, well, I'm not crazy, you know.
That crazy
and
word again.
the fact that someone may need a psychotropic medication does not make them crazy.
Right.
The fact that you may have a mental health disorder doesn't make you crazy.
Right.
It means that
Right.
your mental health is disordered, right? So if you have a physical illness and you need medication for that, that doesn't make you crazy either. But you need the medication in order for your blood pressure to be regulated or your cholesterol to be regulated.
Because you have a disorder.
Because you have a disorder. So the stigma with medication is, I'll say in the African American community especially, from research that I've done, it's because in times past, medication was used in order to control. That was true.
Right.
Prayerfully, that doesn't still happen, because I can't say who does everything in their offices.
Right.
However, the likelihood of that happening is much slimmer. And if the medication is able to help you, then get the help.
Amen.
So, real quick, are there some strategies that the everyday person can kind of implement? And I know this almost falls into that self-care type stuff, but some strategies that we can implement to keep from like falling off, or if you feel a little anxious, or but you don't feel like it's to the point where you're depressed, or but you can feel something a little different, something that's a little off, and yeah, you probably need to schedule an appointment just to walk through it and work through it just to see. But in the meantime, let's say, because I think since COVID, it might take a couple of weeks before you can get an appointment.
That's true.
And so between now and then, what are some strategies if a person is dealing with depression? They think they might be dealing with depression, or they think they might be dealing with some anxiety.
I think one of the things that we don't realize that we do when we're experiencing life is that we don't breathe. We hold our breath a lot, which is why we find ourselves taking in really deep breaths at some point, you know? So we need to learn to breathe and just kind of settle ourselves. There's the, what is it called? Rule 3, the 3 rule for anxiety. That is for you to find 3 things that you can see, focus on those things, 3 things that you can feel within your body, and 3 things that what's my third one? I don't remember, but there's a third one, and you can Google this, and you can find that third one out because I don't remember it right off.
Is it one of the senses? Possibly.
And you said it's 3 what?
3 things.
3 rule.
3 rule.
Yeah, for anxiety and how to cope with anxiety. But those 3 things, in order for you to settle yourself and just kind of recenter, because when you're dealing with anxiety, things are just so heightened, you know, and just seem so big and so much larger than what they actually are. And you feel so small in the midst of all of that stuff. So if you can figure out those 3 things to do, kind of center yourself and continue to breathe during that time, it just settles you, it centers you, and it makes you, that's also a piece of mindfulness as well, to kind of get you to a point where you are just kind of experiencing this moment and not every single moment that you think might be coming. And then when it comes to depression and anxiety as well, I'm huge on journaling. I feel like if you can get all of these thoughts out of your head and onto paper, that's a bit of processing already. And it's no longer just kind of swimming around in there. You've put form to it. And handwriting it, I prefer. But then my younger clients like to put it in their phones because for them, that is them journaling. So you do it that way again to get it from your head onto paper or into your phone, so it's just not there and just weighing on you. Again, finding safe people that you can talk to and just letting somebody know, hey, I'm feeling a certain way. Today, I don't really know what's going on. I'm just feeling this way. And you just share it with somebody. Typically, when we hear self-care, as women, we think about going getting our nails done and our feet done and things of that nature. Going to therapy is self-care. Right. It really is, because it's you taking care of yourself. Right. You can get your nails and your feet done too, and get a massage and all of those things. That's great.
Still feel terrible.
And still feel terrible, right?
Just look cute,
you know. But just look cute.
But you're sitting home depressed, cute.
A cute mess.
A cute mess, right? So go to therapy. I can't stress that enough. I often say that I buy what I sell in regards to therapy. I see a therapist myself. I hear a lot all day long. I have my own life. I have my own children, you know, things of that nature. Life's, and I need somebody to talk to as well. And I will say one question to ask a therapist when you are deciding if you're going to see them is if they have a therapist. If they don't, I question their therapy.
Another mic drop moment.
I don't.
Oh, Lord.
So the 3 things I was able to pull that up real quick.
Producer Bay serves as Chase on the case.
Yes,
we have
thank
a
you.
question.
Chase is on the case. So it's look around and name 3 things you see. Move 3 different parts of your body and name 3 sounds you can hear.
That you can hear. So Yes, it was.
Here.
Yes.
I had never heard that until today.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I may try.
We got a lot of takeaways.
Look,
Some good
I
stuff.
told you. I got to talk to my therapist after this.
Well, I mean, do you have anything else?
Look, thank you for blessing us with your
Right.
presence.
That is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
This was good. I appreciate your expertise, and you provided like some free therapy for some folks. Free therapy.
Lord
Free
Jesus.
therapy is always good, but you need to dig deeper. Like you just have pointed out what may have needed to come to the surface. But thank you. Thank you for taking the time out to do this. Thank you for sitting with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
And to our lovely Keeping It Simple podcast audience, thank y'all for hanging with us. And exciting announcements. This concludes our first season of the Keeping It Simple with Tenika Butler podcast.
Hey.
Y'all, I'm so happy, man. A little sad that we won't see y'all for a little bit.
I'm not sad. Producer Bay ain't sad.
But it's time to take a little break and regroup and get some more stuff together for you. But in the meantime, make sure you stay connected with us on social media. Remember, at Tenika C. Butler, at Jeremy Q. Butler. It's all in that, what do you call that space?
A space.
The biographies.
Show notes.
space. Show notes.
It's called show notes.
The show notes. The caption is not caption. The bio. The bio and the
paragraph thingy. That's
all the information. This is why I need a Gen Zer on my team.
we do.
All right. So in the show notes, all the information to stay connected with us. But before we go over that, let me take it back to our guest, because I know y'all getting ready to bombard her. Listen, she's getting ready to give you her contact stuff. She is not your free therapist.
Oh, Lord.
No, she is not.
But she can take care of you. I was gonna say for the right price, but that sounds a little sketchy.
Yeah, about that.
That sounds a little sketchy. But go ahead and give the people your contact information.
Lord Jesus.
It
Yeah.
didn't even sit well when I felt it coming out, so I was like, no, let's choose some different words.
Like, yeah, come over here to this trunk. I got this extra meat, these extra chickens, and
So yeah, just tell the people, Natalie, how they can, where you can be reached, all that stuff.
Yes. I can be found on psychologytoday.com and just search my name and all of my information will come up. There's a bio there. It has my phone number, email address, and things of that nature. I can be followed on Instagram at Natalie the LPCS. Yeah, Facebook is private. It's personal stuff. So follow me on Instagram.
Mind your business is what she's saying. But you can find her on her public pages.
I have nothing.
With that being said, thank y'all for
I married a thug.
thank y'all for hanging with us, man. 12 episodes. 12 episodes. And you will get a chance to replay all 12 of these episodes during our break.
And also to share them.
And share the episodes. And then make sure that y'all stay connected, because we got some stuff planned on our social media pages. We're not going to just leave you in the dark. Got some podcast stuff planned, but we will be returning with new episodes for season 2. You just got to stay tuned for that release date. Anything else, Producer Bay?
I'm good. No.
We did it.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you too.
Okay.
I mean, you had to take on a whole nother job being Producer Bay.
A free job.
Thank you for working
Yes.
pro bono.
Yes. Yes.
Anything you want to say to the people?
Thank y'all for rocking with us. Let's get it. We got work to do.
Got work to do. See y'all for season 2.